What's good, Wizards fans? Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your host, the real Ed Oliver, my guy, Brandon Scott. Today, we're going to say 3 reasons for optimism to look forward for the Wizards season. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. I just want to thank you guys for listening, making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline where the game starts. So today is Friday, man. We're talking some Wizards basketball. How you feeling today, Brandon?
Sorry, feeling outstanding. It's Friday. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So today we're gonna bring up 3 things of optimism, 3 reasons for optimism for the Wizards season. You know, a lot of the consensus, a lot of the national media is definitely down on the Wizards. Little doom and gloom on the Wizards have, bottom tier in the Eastern Conference. Even the 2K ratings have the Wizards down below in the Eastern Conference as well. So we're just going to come up with 3 reasons for optimism, things to look forward to for the Washington Wizards season, why they could possibly surprise, or how they could possibly surprise. My first one is health. We'll elaborate on it more. But what's your first reason for optimism, Brandon?
Yes, sir. My first one is faster tempo. I believe with Morris at point guard, we got a point guard that's going to push the tempo. If you look at Bradley Beal, when he's most successful within his career, is when he had a point guard that can distribute the ball, who can hit him when he's wide open, getting wide open threes. I think that the problem last season was, him trying to be a playmaker and a shooter. So with a pass first point guard, he's going to have an opportunity to be that scorer that he's best known to be. So faster tempo, that's what I look forward to.
Definitely, yeah. The Wizards were a bottom team in pace last year for sure. We were just a slow, methodical team, especially when we had Dinwiddie out there who was just a slower point guard. And pace isn't everything, but no, that's a good point. I mean, when he played next to John Wall, that was one of his better years, especially shooting from 3. Just shooting overall was one of Bradley Beal's all-star years playing with next to John Wall, even next to Russell Westbrook as well. Bradley Beal had an all-NBA career year. That was his best season. So I do want to bring up pace too. Washington last year, they were ranked 23rd in pace, 99.3. Pace is John Hollinger's team statistics and pace. I know the Wizards were bottom in fast break points too. They just weren't a running team, and that might not be Wes Unsell's junior strategy. And I know paces and everything doesn't always equal to wins moving fast, but I think we got a young team that can go. You got a guy like Gaffer that can run the floor. Denny can run the floor. Rui can run the floor. We got some young guys that can run. And that are athletic. Will Barton, he likes to run and gun too. So Kyle Kuzma, he's good with running and pushing the pace too. So I think Monte Morris is a guy that can do that. Monte Morris is not the fastest guy in the world, but I do think if we try to look to push, get the ball to Porziņģis in some transition threes, some threes where he's trailing behind Brad or trailing behind Monte in transition, I think it can open up the floor tremendously for this team. So, yeah, I like that a lot with Monte. I think Monte is capable of doing that. DeLon Wright off the bench too a little bit. You can run, Barton, you let Barton bring the ball up sometimes. Brad bring the ball up, interchange. Other guys can bring the ball up, push the pace. Guys just get the rebound and push. That's what I'm looking forward to. So that's a good one. Mine is health. The Wizards just haven't been healthy in the previous years. You look at last year. Rui missed the first 40 games of the year. Thomas Bryant missed the first 40 games or 20 to 30 or 40 games of the year with a torn ACL. Porziņģis is coming in healthy. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood for these guys. And Josh Robbins had a tweet yesterday saying that everybody on the roster, on the training camp roster right now is healthy. So that's awesome. Bradley Beal coming back from a wrist injury. So health is going to be huge for the Washington Wizards. And you can say that for every team. But even some of the free agents that we brought in the previous years, Dwight Howard having a back injury, CJ Miles being injured. So there's been so many guys that we brought in and signed that have been hurt. So I'm intrigued to see what Rui can do with a full season. Denny last year coming back from the broken foot, the broken lower leg injury. This is his first full off season. No health and safety protocols, no virus, no COVID or anything like that. So I'm excited to see these guys a fully healthy roster from the jump, and I think they can help Wes Unseld Jr. out with rotations too, because they had to bring Rui in last year. 40 games, had to do a minute restriction thing with him. They had to do the same thing with Thomas Bryant. And I think they just really messed up the rotation and chemistry waiting for these guys to come in. And this year, you don't have to do that. Guys are just ready and available this year. So far, knock on wood.
Yeah, I totally agree. Health is a big thing for this team because, like you said, KP is a very talented player. I mean, the only knock against him has been his injury history. So if he comes into the season healthy and ready to go, this solid 3 looks solid. This is – it's a solid team. Like I said, the young guys, they're good role players. I really want to see how Johnny does, where he fits into the lineup, because I think he's still going to have a pretty good career. Everybody's basing, a lot off of Summer League, but Corey Kispert, does he take that leap forward? Rui, how's he play this season? Coming back from what happened last season with him. And of course, Denny, coming off of FIBA. Does he take that step forward everybody's looking forward to? So, there's a lot of ifs, but there's a lot of optimistic ifs. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot to like with this team. You know what I mean? So definitely, health has always been the issue for this team, going all the way back to, Agent Zero, man. So, health has always been that one factor that kept us from being a competing team, in my opinion. So, no, I totally agree. Health is something that I look forward to, a healthy team going forward, and hopefully we can make a run at this thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Agent Zero, John Wall was out for 2 seasons. I mean, he missed a tremendous amount of games, and you have a star player like that, or 47 supermax $1 million player or $47 million player, guy that you're expecting to be your number one guy, and John Wall that was, out for an Achilles injury for, a couple of years with the Wizards, unfortunately, Gilbert Arenas with the torn ACL. So the Wizards, they just had their unfortunate. Every team has that, but the Wizards have really been struck by injuries for their star players and big name players that they really need. And this year, it's looking good that way. It's looking good that way for, it's looking good for health. Once again, knock on wood. So we're going to get to some more optimistic reasons. But before we do get into that, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest Football League developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week's games. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline where the game starts.
NBA Top 50. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis. Which NBA player moves the betting line the most this season? Locked On and the BetOnline odds makers present the NBA Top 50 most valuable players starting on September 19th. Find it on Locked On NBA whenever you get your podcast and on YouTube.
Yes, sir. All right. So what was your second reason for optimism?
Man, second reason for optimism. Number 2, improve three-point shooting. Three-point shooting was an issue last season. Monte Morris and Will Bard can shoot behind the arc with a high percentage. They known to be really good three-point shooters. So I would like to see a better, I have optimism that this is going to be a better three-point shooting team. People forget KP can shoot behind the arc. Rui took a step forward with his three-point shooting. Like I mentioned, Barton, Morris. I see Bradley Beal taking a step forward with his three-point shot this season. So I'm very optimistic that this team is going to be a better three-point shooting team.
100%. Yeah, they couldn't get much worse. They made the fewest threes in the NBA last year, and like you said, yeah, Monte Morris is I'm looking up his numbers right now. He shot 39% from 3 last year, shooting 4 threes per game, which is pretty good volume right there. Will Barton, he's like a career 36% three-point shooter too, and like you said, Corey Kispert, he's a guy that can knock it down from 3. I think Corey is going to make a nice developmental leap this year as well, shooting from the 3. He broke the rookie 3 record last year, hitting over 100 threes. He broke Bradley Beal's 3-point record. He hit 6 threes in a game against the Warriors too. And Porziņģis, he's going to open up the floor too. So I love how I think Porziņģis is going to get a lot of open shots for guys too. You know, he attracts a lot of double teams. Brad attracts a lot of double teams. So we're going to get some guys that can knock it down. Monte can knock it down. Last year we struggled from 3 too. Like other teams would play zone, and it looks like the Wizards were just lost in the sauce out there. Like when we lost a couple games to the Hornets, they just kept playing zone against us because they were just daring us to shoot from 3. But this year, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think they're going to have to really respect us from the 3-point line, and we're gonna have some guys that can knock it down. Rui surprised me last year, man. That was a pleasant surprise. Him shooting that well from the 3.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I didn't mention Kuzma. Man, Kuzma was close.
Kuzma too.
I mean, list goes on. This is going to be a good 3-point shooting team. You know, I think people are going to have to put more respect in our name when it comes to 3-point shooting because Morris and Barton, they're good additions to this lineup as far as shooting behind the arc. So, like I said, I'm very optimistic that this team can be a better 3-point shooting team this season.
Yeah, definitely have to put some respect on our name. I like that. You know, all 3 of them just knocking it down from 3. So, my next one, I'm very optimistic with the big 3 or a solid 3 as we call them. Porziņģis, Brad, Kuzma. The last time they had 2 guys, every time the Wizards have 2 players score 20 points a game, they made the playoffs. It's happened 6 times, and this is from Chase Hughes. This is a stat that he brought up. That the 6 times it has happened, the Wizards had 2 players scoring 20 points per game. They made the playoffs 5 out of 6 times, and I think Kristaps is going to score 20 points a game, and then Bradley Beal easily he just walks on the court, he scores 20 points a game. Kristaps too. I mean, he easily just walks on the court and scores 20 points a game. Kuzma is a guy that can put up 20 points a game too. Honestly, like I said, if we do push the pace and run that style of offense, a high octane, run against style offense, which I don't think Wes Unseld Jr. is going to do. I think he likes that slow pace, but he may have to switch up his coaching style just and go what works best for Bradley Beal. Like you said, Bradley Beal has done a great job, playing that run and gun style with Russell Westbrook and John Wall, where they're just running the floor, playing that young style of basketball. So I do see guys that could potentially score 20 points a game. I think that would be a high octane offense. And then Kuzma, like you said, he's been lethal from the 3-point line, knocking it down. Percentages weren't great, but he had a game where he hit 8 threes. And I think Bradley Beal is a guy that can bounce back and shoot better from the 3-point line too. Just having other shooters around him, other guys that are going to attract double teams, other guys that can score for themselves and create for themselves, and just being next to a natural point guard like Monte Morris, I think they can set him up for easier baskets.
And I like that you mentioned Wes Unseld with what he, what he doesn't want to do with his offense. I mean, that's the thing with coaching in the NBA now. You have to, and there's a saying, adapt or die. With coaching, you have to adapt. You have to kind of sacrifice parts of, your system. With Wes, what I want to see is a faster paced offense and the defense taking a step up. That's the system you haven't really seen in a long time because one famous team that was a run and gun team. I don't know if you remember the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns under Michael D'Antoni. They were a fast team that was run and gun, but obviously they sacrificed defense. I'd like to see him kind of mesh the best of both worlds. I like to see the pace go faster, but I would like to see the defense take a step up. Especially with players with like Rui. Rui, I like to see him take a step forward as far as his defense this season. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think pace will help Gafford as well. He's a guy that catches lobs and likes to run the floor too. So a slow, half-court offense is not going to be – it's not best suited for Gafford. Now, Gafford is a guy that, he thrives off alley-oops and lobs and guys, getting him the ball, kind of manufacture baskets, assisted baskets. So I think it would be good for Gafford too. And then we saw last year when Gafford and Porziņģis played together, they were running the floor together. They were 2 bigs that can, finish above the rim and run the floor together. So I like that a lot too. That would thrive. Denny's really going to transition too. So I love him to push the pace. And yeah, like you said, Wes Unseld Jr., he may have to, go against, his philosophies. I think from looking at last year, he liked the slow, methodical offense, slow it down and have defense be your identity where, we weren't good enough to have defense as our identity last year. I think Wes did some good things and there were definitely some improvement areas for him for sure. So I do want to see how this offense is with Porziņģis. I think it's going to run through Porziņģis in the half court. And then, of course, it's going to run through Brad. But I think what I saw from last year is, when Brad was out, of course, Porziņģis was the number one guy, and they were really running the offense through Porziņģis. And I thought that was the best our offense looked all year. Tomas Satoransky was running point guard, and it wasn't running through guards. It was running through a big in Porziņģis. And I thought it flowed, and the ball movement was better when it was running through Porziņģis last year.
I mean, pushing the pace is a win-win for this team. From an offensive point of view, the defense doesn't, you're catching the defense sleeping. They don't know how to adjust when you're pushing the pace. When you're doing a half-court defense, you're giving the defense time to kind of go off your offense, and that's why it kind of bogged us down last season. We just, Dinwiddie just that's why I just wasn't a good fit last season because because the pace. You can't give the defense time to get itself together. When you inbound the ball or if you get that rebound, push the ball. It's going to catch the defense slipping. It's unbalanced in the defense. So it's a win-win. Like I said, from a coaching point of view, West has to be able to sacrifice a part of his system for this team to be successful because we cannot be, coming up the court and setting up and you know what I mean? Like, we got to go fast, man, because we have the personnel to do it. That's another thing I want to bring up. He has to match the personnel to the system and likewise system to the personnel. We have the personnel to run and gun. I'm excited to see the pick and roll with Brad and KP, and Gaff. I mean, and that's another thing, Gaff and KP are going to be a good 1-2 punch at the center position. And so, I mean, I'm very optimistic. This is a very, very athletic team that can roll. So, I mean, as long as Wes Unseld is willing to sacrifice part of his system for the success of his team, this team's going to be a sleeper.
Right. Yeah. And we don't 100% know what his system is yet, but based off of what we saw last year, he just likes for them to get set up in a steady Eddie kind of thing. And it probably did work out on Denver. I'll look at the pace that they had when he was there. If there was anything different, I don't know if I'll bring it up right now, but it would be interesting to see. I guess I'll bring it up to see if their pace was any different with Jokic. But even Jokic, he likes to run and gun too because he gets the ball out. Guess what he does with the rebound? He's always, throwing it up court, But, yeah, Denver, their pace, according to John Hollinger, I'm not sure if it's John Hollinger who does the pace, but they were 99.5. So they were ranked 29th in pace in Denver. So I guess, yeah, and the pace factor. So this is pace factor. It's the number of possessions a team uses per game. So they were almost dead last in pace in 2020. That was the last time that West was there. So I guess that's what the coach Mike Malone in Denver likes to do. And I guess that's what West is trying to do over here. And he may just have to, switch it up. So, but this is good, talking about pace, I mean, it's something that the Wizards may have to look at. Really. Did you have a reason for optimism?
Yes, sir, I do. Number 3, KP playing with his back to the basket. Now, KP said last season that he wanted to play with his back to the basket a lot more than he did in Dallas. Dallas, he was the top of the key. He showed last season that when he played with his back to the basket, he had the athleticism and the post moves to be able to dominate in the paint. Now, obviously, when he goes against people like, Embiid or when, your high-profile bigs, he's going to have his work cut out for him because, he is a tall cat, but, he's, muscle-wise, Embiid's a whole nother beast. But he was very successful last season playing with his back to the basket. So if he can add that, in addition to his three-point shooting, this could be a very complete player. And this can really play mind games with defenses because, like I said, he can hit from behind the arc and he can go in the paint and he can dominate. So, that's really going to have defenses really questioning, you know what I mean? So that's one thing I'm very optimistic to look at is him playing more in the paint and not so much, top of the key,
Right. Yeah. So I would actually, I'm not going to say I disagree, but I look at it this way. I think Porziņģis, he's a finesse big. He's not a banger kind of guy. He's not a physical guy. Like he's not like, he's not going to be like Shaq or, even Embiid is finesse too. Like he likes to dribble, do crossovers and stuff like that. But no, if he can dominate with his back to the basket where he can just do that turnaround where he doesn't even need to dribble the ball, just get it, turn around and shoot over guys. Yao Ming did that. Yao Ming 7'6". Kristaps is not too far away from 7'6". When Kristaps plays out there too, he's so much taller than his defenders too. So I do agree with you as well. And then in some parts I look at it differently. There were some times where he was trying to bang down low on the post and be physical. It just didn't work out, and sometimes he would fade away. But like you said, if he is more physical and stronger down there too, it can help him out instead of fading away. But sometimes that fading away it does work out for him. For whatever reason in Dallas, some of the post-ups just didn't work out for him. But I think with the Wizards, I gotta look at the numbers for that too. But he was dominating the post. I did like him at the top of the key though, and that's why that's why he's a unicorn, because he can do things that other bigs can't do, which they can shoot threes and he can dribble, put the ball on the floor. I look at that Lakers game where I bring it up a lot, where he was dominating. They put Russ on him. He just got the ball at the free throw line, shot the ball over Russ. There was one time he did a pump fake over Russell Westbrook, and it was Austin. They put Austin Reeves on Porziņģis, they put LeBron on Porziņģis, and they put Russ on Porziņģis. It was all three mismatches. Nobody could guard him. I think Wenyen Gabriel was guarding him too. They were all just mismatches. Nobody could check Porziņģis. There's going to be some games like that where he's getting switches, and there's 6'8" guys on him that are not even close or in a stratosphere, and he's just going to be able to shoot the ball over him. So, but yeah, no, I do want to see him get in the post more too. Just start inside out. But if he is knocking that three down, I'm not mad at that either.
Oh no, I totally agree. And that's why I said, you got to be unpredictable. Very often last season we were very predictable, and so if he's able to do both, because like I said, it's a matchup thing. This is where coaching comes in. If you're going against Embiid, maybe down low is not the best decision to go with KP. But if you're going against other bigs that, all right, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's not going to be able to guard the perimeter, so that it's a mismatch. But to have more than one tool in your tool bag is a good thing, especially for KP. And that's really what I want to see from him is play more in the paint, but don't be so paint dominant to where defenses can kind of adjust on that. Be unadjustable. We have that talent on this team. We have guys who can play multiple positions. We have guys who can do more than one thing with their game. So, it's a Swiss Army knife. That's the one thing I do like about this roster is you have guys who can, play multiple positions. You have guys who can do more than one thing, So KP, I agree with you. Behind the arc, he's money. And he did a lot of that in Dallas. But, one interview I remember, when we first acquired him, said that the one thing he wanted to do more of was play with his back to the basket. I noticed that watching him play last season, he was doing a lot more of that. And it was catching defenses off guard. Because, like I said, defenses were going off of the fact that, he was shooting more behind the arc. So when he went in the paint, he was very successful. So, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. If he can dominate there, and that's why I'm high on him, because I feel like he can dominate inside out. I feel like he can do it both ways. I feel like he can get a smaller guy on him and shoot over him or back him down, get to the basket. Even off misses, getting off his rebounds. I think he's a good rebounder. I think he's a solid rebounder. I think he's going to lead the team in rebounds as he should. And just being out there shooting, put the ball on the floor, I think he can do both. But yeah, I like in the interview how he said he does want the ball down low in the post. Being 7'3", he wants to take advantage of those mismatches. So I'm intrigued to see Porziņģis. He's the guy that I'm really high on this year. I'm really thinking that Porziņģis is going to have an all-star. I think he can have a career. I think he's on a revenge tour. I think a lot of people are down on him. Like I said, his trade value went down. He was traded for Bertans and Dinwiddie. No disrespect to those guys, but I think his trade value certainly went down. It kind of showed what the league thought about Porziņģis, that the Mavericks were so quick and ready to give up or trade him for two guys who, don't have the all-star potential, in my opinion, or even close to. And the Mavericks threw in a second-round pick. They gave up Dinwiddie, Bertans, and a second-round pick just to get rid of Porziņģis. When Porziņģis and Luka were supposed to be a dynamic duo, that we're hoping that Bradley Beal and Porziņģis can be. So, but yeah, those are some good reasons for optimism. We'll probably do a part 2, and if you guys want to drop down your reasons for optimism, why do you think the Wizards could finish better than what the consensus or what the national media has us finishing, in the play-in or out of the play-in or not even making the playoffs? You guys drop down your comments below, or add us on Twitter, or DM us on Twitter, or any type of social media, or in the community tab on YouTube as well. We just want to thank you guys for listening and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Now, for your second listen, get up to date on the latest news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA, your daily NBA update in just 30 minutes. Brandon, before we leave, it's a good luck charm. So we did do predictions for the Commanders game. I got my Commanders hat and my Washington T-shirt on right now. Brandon's got his Wizards gear on. Of course, you have your Washington football team flag in the back. So we'll just do one key to victory. We're not going to do all three. One key to victory and a score prediction. I'll let you go first.
Oh, man. Key to victory. Carson Wentz. Stay out of your head, bro. Make the right decisions. Trust your playmakers. You know, we had playmakers. So, you know, you don't have to play hero ball. You know, trust your guys around you. Score-wise, it's going to be a scoring fest. I'm saying right now, both defenses are struggling a little bit. So I'm going to say 38-31 Washington.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I like that. A nice, fun, high-scoring game. I'm going to say 32-29, the Commanders win. My key to victory is stopping DeAndre Swift, man. We talked about it before we got on here. He is a dynamic running back. He put up a lot of numbers on the Eagles. I think he had like 144 rushing yards. We got to contain him. I don't know about stop him, but we got to contain him. We have it, because if he hurts us, then, you know, Goff is not the best quarterback in the world, but he can hurt you. I'll say that he's a respectable quarterback. He has been to the Super Bowl before, but I like your point about Carson Wentz, man. He's got to, it was a roller coaster ride. We'll see what kind of roller coaster we get on Sunday. But just want to thank you guys for listening once again. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell. Hail to the Wizards. Peace.